I've watched every single game the last 2 seasons, and I'm going to share some of the obstacles that the Eagles are facing specifically this year. The best part, I did all the research so you don't have to. Now let's get right into another football breakdown.
Now I get it, wrong football. But the question still remains, what happened to the Philadelphia Eagles from last season to this season? Let's bring it in.
One notable difference is that the Eagles look more inconsistent and less explosive compared to last season. In 2022, they were on fire in the red zone, scoring on 68% of times they were there, which ranked 3rd in the NFL. In 2023, the script is flipped and they are 27th ranked for scoring in the red zone. This season, the Eagles are only scoring on 42.1% of their red zone trips. Let's look into the numbers. The Eagles have entered the red zone 19 times in the first 5 games, and it's only resulted in 8 touchdowns. The Eagles have been pretty consistent when needing 5 or less yards. Of course, they can do the brotherly push, but anything where it's a long 3rd and 4th down, they're struggling, and it just raises the question, why the inconsistency and what has changed year over year? A significant change for the Eagles was in the offensive coordinator position. In 2022, Shane Steichen led the Eagles to be the 3rd best scoring team in the league. Jalen Hurts had an amazing season, and he was the NFL MVP, almost runner-up. But what happened since? Well, since Shane Steichen left to be the Indianapolis Colts head coach, in steps Brian Johnson, a quarterbacks coach for the Eagles. He's coached in college, and interestingly enough, he actually knew Jalen Hurts when he was a kid. Thus, we see Brian Johnson making his mark on the Eagles with a perfect storyline. Getting into the nitty-gritty, the biggest difference that we see year over year is the amount of turnovers that the Eagles have given up in the offensive half. When compared to Shane Steichen's Colts, the Colts only have 1 less turnover than the Eagles this year. So I really want to count this on Brian Johnson or any offensive coordinator. That's just regression that's always bound to happen. Something else that's impacting the Eagles is that they're just not making enough big plays. They're only gaining more than 15 yards on 11% of plays drawn up, which obviously is down from last year. So is it teams that are game planning better against the Eagles, or is it that offensive coordinator being passive in whatever he chooses and whatever plays that he draws up? Personally, I think he's being passive with Jalen Hurts. He's not letting him be that passer that we've come to see, that big jump year over year, that 21 to 22 season. There's definitely adjustments that need to be made, and I also think that Jalen's not making the right calls. He's not making the right reads, and again, regression's going to happen after you have an amazing year like that. I get it. Speaking of Jalen Hurts, what we see year over year is that, again, the turnovers are up and his QB rating is down. Obviously, he's amazing with the tush push, the brotherly shove, whatever you want to call it. But when it comes to passing in the red zone, he is lackluster. I mean, he's behind the great quarterbacks of Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, even Lamar Jackson. This year, his passing accuracy actually has improved to a career best 67.3%, but his red zone performance has been dismal with a 42.9% completion rate, which ranks 28th among full-time starters. Would you contribute this to the offensive coordinator not drawing up the right plays in the red zone, or Nick Sirianni not making better in-game switches and adjustments? Personally, I think it's up to Jalen Hurts. You are the quarterback. What you see on the field, you make the read from it. We saw it with Kenny Pickett and the Steelers on that game-winning drive. He saw that it was cover 0. He saw a man, so he threw it to Pickens. I get you have a play to run, but if you see something as a quarterback and the Eagles are giving you $50 million a year, you make your own read. So for the Eagles to be at that top level again, Jalen Hurts has to improve in the red zone, specifically passing, if he wants to be that top tier quarterback that the Eagles fans have come to know him as. Now, the biggest thing that people said about the Eagles last year was that their schedule was easy, they played bums, and looking at this year, the Eagles are struggling against mid-tier teams. I mean, the Eagles are giving up over 20 points a game, which is 8th ranked, and only scoring around 21 per game, which is 14th ranked. I mean, we've come to see the Eagles as a team that is leaps and bounds above offenses and defenses alike, and we see them mid-tier against mid-teams. I get it. It's a low sample size in the first 6, 7, 8 games of the season, but this can't be overlooked when you're playing the Patriots, You're playing the Buccaneers. You're playing the Vikings. Like, these teams don't have winning records, and we are struggling against them. We are barely beating them. We're beating them by a touchdown. Like, it does not look good. And the Eagles just lost to a Jets team that has Zach Wilson at the QB1, no Sauce Gardner. I mean, what are we doing here? Jalen's throwing 3 interceptions. Like, why are we struggling? I thought the Eagles were supposed to go back to the Super Bowl. That's what I thought. And when you look at the stats, the Eagles' opponents have a negative 7.9 DVOA. What is DVOA? DVOA is defense adjusted value over average. I get it. I'm throwing big words at you. Essentially, all it means is it compares how good or how bad teams are that you play compared to the league average. So if you have a negative DVOA, you are essentially a bad team. If you have a positive, you are better than the league average. The Eagles are playing a minus 7.9 DVOA schedule so far, which means the teams they played are bums. They're playing like crap against bums. Wait until the Eagles get into the stretch of the 49ers, the Bills, Miami, Cowboys twice. I mean, these teams are better than the teams we played with, and so far, we are barely keeping up with the bums of our schedule. So, obviously, you get the wins where you get them, but it does not look good on an advanced stats level for the Philadelphia Eagles this year. We've uncovered multi-layered issues within the Eagles this year, whether it be Jalen Hurts and his reads, or he can't pass in the red zone, whether it be the offensive coordinator's calls and Nick Sirianni's adjustments, or whether it just be the Eagles not playing up to the level that we all know they can play at. They are barely beating mid-tier teams, and that's a problem that is not going to help them down the line, down the season. So in total, the Eagles have to step up. Of course, they have to beat the teams that are the bums of their schedule. They have to step up against the better teams, which we will see in the next 6-7 games for the Eagles. Jalen Hurts has to improve in the red zone as a passer. He cannot run the ball every single down, and that comes down to Brian Johnson calling a good red zone offense. It also relies on Nick Sirianni making nice and efficient in-game adjustments, which we have not seen yet. Pair those all together, and we will see Eagles at that top 2, top 3 team that we know them to be, obviously, for us fans. Now, I want to turn it over to you guys. What do you guys think the biggest problem with the Eagles this season has been? And what do you think that they can do to improve it? Leave a comment letting me know. I answer all the comments, so I will reach back out. Speaking of comments, I want to shout out Sandhater1234. Sandhater said that he believes the Diamondbacks are going to win the World Series. God bless them. The Phillies are up 2-0. I think they're going to win it, but again, leave comments because I will shout you out in the videos. This has been Studs, your #1 content creator for all things sports, and we are looking to make a change within sports, through sports. Until next time, it's been Studs.